All right, so in this special bonus lesson, we're going to take a look at automating our configuration to our switches. So we just learned about deploying ISE and our wired switch configuration, and there's some global commands and there's some interface commands. And now we've got 100 switches to do or 500 switches to do, depending on our environment, right? We don't have to do those by hand. Now, a lot of NMS tools like SolarWinds, Nagios, What's Up Gold, our favorite Nectus 5, uh, they can help push configurations, and they have a tool to basically help automate the deployment of configurations through the NMS. Also, Prime Infrastructure, for example, and of course, DNA, you're doing everything through DNA, but this is for those of you that still have a lot of switches out there that need to deploy a configuration and be very nimble, I guess, with it. Okay, so a lot of times where we actually call on Python, which is what we're about to use, um, one of the things that is very kind of useful is whenever I have like a Cisco environment where we've got IP phones on some ports, and we really want to standardize on like multi-auth for the port configuration, you could do it and just do that with a Cisco phone, but some people want to do multi-domain, which allows you to have a phone on the port and then, an access device. So if I need to figure out which, interfaces have a phone connected, then, we have custom built tools here at Active Expert Wi-Fi Training that goes out and, with Python, we'll discover each interface, see if there's an IP phone connected, could even report back which model and all that kind of stuff. But really, it just gives us a list of targets saying, hey, these switches with these interfaces have phones connected. And then I can use the script we're about to use to push out a configuration to those devices. But for now, instead of doing all this seek and destroy, or excuse me, seek and configure type configurations, we're going to just take a look at using Python for a very, very simple purpose, which is I have a list of network switches or devices that I need to push configuration to. And I want to automate the deployment of the configuration just like I was sitting there typing commands in at one switch. I want to replicate that to as many switches as I have. That's our goal. Now, I've never posted a lot to GitHub. I've taken plenty from it. Never posted a lot, but I actually put this tool just so you guys have it, and you guys will have it in your scripts as well, your file, your LMS, whatever you're watching this video with, you'll have these scripts. But I actually am starting to put some of our candy on GitHub. So if you go to GitHub/Rockstar Wi-Fi, I basically have stuff from the wireless pen testing, Rockstar Wireless pen testing, that Rockstar Wireless hacking that we did, and then ICE tools, and which I'm going to be updating with a couple more tools. But for now, here's what we've done. We've taken a very simple Python script that uses the Netmiko library. Netmiko allows us to connect to a variety of different network devices and send commands in an order and in a way that they expect using SSH. Now, there's several libraries, and I'm not going to take this moment to teach Python. That's a separate class we're doing. But this script is basically, if you have Python 3 installed and you have the Netmiko library installed, then I can copy this script and I can basically follow the very simple instructions, and then we are good to go. So let's take a look at what this looks like. So first of all, the ICE tools, if you go to my page on GitHub, right, you see ICE tools. So we need this code. Now, we can grab this, we can clone this, okay, by doing just simple GitHub command here. So, or we can download as a zip file, or we can just grab the CLI. So for our purposes, what I'm just going to do to keep this very simple, I'm just going to grab the script and the ICE tools -push script, and we're going to use my Linux box here. I've got a fresh folder for us, so there's nothing in there, okay? And we're going to use nano to create this script locally. So we're going to call this push.py, for example. And that opens our text editor. We're going to paste this in. I could run Python, obviously, on Windows. I much prefer it on Linux. So I just have an Ubuntu box that I do all my code from, and also it's portable. I get to carry it anywhere with me with just a file because it's a VM. So it's pretty useful there. All right. So in this configuration, let's look at it here because we have some nice color scheme to go with it, right? Now, there's other obviously Python tools out there and scripts that are much more advanced than this. But that's the beauty of Python is this is very powerful in what it's doing. So here's what we're doing. We are importing Netmiko. We're saying we're going to use Netmiko and their connection handler that allows us to do SSH sessions with these devices. Okay. And then we're opening a file called commands.ios. Okay. That's basically the file we're going to use with the commands we want to send to our devices. Okay. Which devices are we going to send it to? Well, we've got another file that's needed called devices, which is just a text file with a list of IP addresses one at a time. Now, you always want to test any scripts you're working with to do these type of deployments with one switch to start, and then you can add more and more and more. And I kept this very simple. We did not add multi-threading or anything like that. What's multi-threading? That allows us to go and configure several switches at the same time instead of just one at a time. Using this method, if you had 100, 200 switches to do, it's going to take you a while because you're going to sit there and write the commands to the first one, then it's going to finish, then it's going to go to the next one, then it's going to finish. But that'll take some time. You could leave it running overnight if you're confident in it, whatever. But we've built onto this, and it's actually some of the same, code blocks we use in this script to do 10 switches at a time, or 15 or 20. And I might post that one too here in a minute. We also built one to log better, everything that was written, and then the feedback from the switches, just so we have a log. But we built all kinds of fun stuff that help us with our deployments. Anyway, and I recommend you do it too. This is just for those of you, obviously, who are new to Python and who are new to network automation, this is some of the power of it, okay? So we're opening those two files. So as long as we don't modify anything in the script, we can use it over and over and over as many times as we want. The only thing that you could change if you wanted to is I could point to a different commands file. So I can make another file saying like, let's just say like multi-domain. And these are going to push out multi-domain configurations to the switches in that category. Or I can make a switch called routers. This is my router configuration that I need to do, or I'm going to make a configuration for whatever, and I just need to push that out to these devices. If it's iOS or iOS XE, this script will push it out as long as SSH is enabled and this device can reach whatever device you're pushing it to. Then this will sit there just like you're on the keyboard doing one device at a time, except it automates it one after the other. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so let's take a look. First of all, and then 4 devices in devices list. So we're going to say connecting to device, and then we've got the device's IP address, so one device at a time. Now, we need to make sure we've got a password that is usable. So in this case, I've set up a device here with this username and this password that we're going to test to. Now, once we've done this, we need a commands.ios file with our list of commands, and we need with a devices file with a list of IP addresses. So what we're going to do is Control O, write this out. It says file name, write to push.py, enter, and Control X to exit. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing to create the other 2 supporting files. So we're going to create one called devices. So I've got one device we're going to start with to test this, okay? And once that's done, we're going to write this out, Control O again. Whoops. 2 devices, and let me zoom in just a little bit for you here. We're going to exit out, and then we need the commands.ios file. So we're going to do nano. Okay, and let's do this. On this one, what we're going to do is we're going to let's build a radius server. Okay, so we're going to say radius server, and then we're going to call this ISE. you know what? Let's go look at the commands first, and then we'll come back and actually build our script. So let's connect here. This is that switch that we're going to be configuring. So we'll verify that our username and password works. It does. So let's go ahead and do, let's see, I call it ISE1, or we'll do PSN1. Really doesn't matter. We're just doing this as an example. So I think it's host or it's address. There we go. And we're going to say this is at 10.1.10.21 in our example. Okay. Whoops, address IPv4. So make sure your script is right before you start, obviously. And then we're going to say key, and then Cisco 123 for this. Okay. And then you've got some other things we could do, like timeout if we wanted to time out, which means we're going to go to the next server if we do a group and all that kind of fun stuff. So now if we look, we've got a radius server now. So we've got some other .1x configuration here. So let's just say you know what, we need all this, okay? And you know what, we're going to remove ICE radius 1 and PSN 1. So we're going to remove those real quick. So let me just copy that. Okay. Now to make sure that we're not, because how are we going to know it worked if we've still got these servers, right? So what we want to do first is no radius All right, so now if we do our show run search radius, we only have the global configuration there. We don't have the radius servers configured anymore, okay? So let's go ahead and exit this mode. We'll come back to this guy in a second because we're gonna rewrite that here, okay? So let's also do something like, let's see, let's do a banner or something. All right, so now we've got a banner message of the day. I'm going to copy this because that's what I want to push to all my devices. Okay, so we're going to do that as well. Okay, and we want to have this pretty much exactly like we would be typing it into the terminal with the Netmiko library. Okay, so now we're going to do no banner MOTD and in. And so if we do a show run, now we just do show run. You're going to see we don't have any banners. Okay, so I removed it, right? So now we want our tool here to push these two radius servers and our new banner message, right? It could be anything. It could be something simple, just something you need to deploy to all your devices, maybe code upgrades. And let's say we want it to save that configuration once we're done. We could add write mem here. You don't do copy run start with this because it will prompt you back and go, are you sure? Write mem saves it to memory right then. All right. So we'll go ahead and put in a writ, and then we're going to write that out to commands.ios, exit, and now we're good. So basically that's it. We're ready to rock and roll. So to run Python, you can open a manual interpreter shell, or you can just run the actual script. Okay, in this case, we're going to do Python 3. That's the version we're using. It could be anything I've pretty much used this similar script since any of the version 3s. Okay, so we know it'll work with, let's see, right now I'm on 3.85, but it would work with any of them. So, all right, so to run the script, what we're going to do is Python 3 space the name of the script. And so we did have that print statement. So it's going to show us as it pastes the commands and connects to these devices. So, but you notice we got an error here. The write command doesn't work from privileged exec mode or from the global configuration mode. So what you have to do with that is we have to modify our script. So we're going to do, but the rest of the commands did work. Okay, they all worked fine. It's just you got an error right there. So let's take a look and see if our configuration is back. So we're going to do show run search banner. There's our banner message of the day that's back. And if we do our show run radius, there's our 2 servers at back. So everything worked. It just did not save the configuration. If we do a show run right now, you're going to see at the top of the show run that the last configuration change was not today. This was the clock's off on the switch, apparently. So how do we do that? Well, we can modify our commands.ios file. And we can say, we can add do in front of that. Do write would work. Or if you want to be, I guess, the classic way, we can exit and then write. Or actually, we could do end and then write. And that would save it. So let's change this around a little bit. Let's say we needed to modify. We made a mistake. Okay. Now we need this server to be 25, and we need this server to be 120. All right, let's just use that. So we're going to write this out again. Exit. We're going to run the command, run the Python script again. This time we should not get an error saving the configuration. And again, it would do one after the other, okay? And it goes pretty quick depending on how many commands you're writing. But it's that simple, right? So if I have a lot of configuration changes to do, guys, this tool will definitely help you out. All you have to do is have Python 3 running and the Netmiko library installed. That's it. I'm not going to do that in this video. We have another intro to network automation course you can use, and there's even more development courses that we're using to teach you the fundamentals of Python and all that. But for now, just think of how this simplifies your switch configurations for 50 switches, 100 switches, whatever. If you don't have an NMS, or if your NMS just really isn't that user friendly whenever it comes to pushing configurations. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this and it was fun. If you already know Python and you already know programming, it was going to be pretty simple for you, right? It's only a few lines of code, but you would be amazed at how many engineers, long-term network professionals, have not used Python yet. I see it every day whenever I'm teaching and doing mentored consulting. It scares the hell out of people for some reason. It shouldn't. It's just another application you got to learn to use, and it's really one of the easiest coding languages I have found over the years. With all the libraries out there and the templates that are out there, I don't code every day, and I'm able to do some pretty cool things with it. Last note, I am going to be updating the ISE tools folder. I'm going to add a few more scripts for you guys here in a bit. So if you want to probably add something to go find, like I said, interfaces that match a certain condition, stuff like that, just so you have a little arsenal that will help you on your ISE deployments. If you haven't seen Cisco ISE lessons, that's a new course that I wrote at Wi-Fi Training. So you can see that at wifitraining.com, store.wifitraining.com. Follow me on Twitter, /at Rockstar Wi-Fi. And yeah, you guys have a great one. We'll see you again soon.